Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Heavyweights Podcast. In one corner, standing at 6'3", 290 pounds of solid chicken wings, Dustin Urban. And this corner at 6'7", 280 pounds, the one, the only, Big Daddy Nik Klein.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Heavyweights Podcast. I'm your host, Nik Klein, and sitting to my left, like always, is the big man, Dustin Urban. We're going to jump right into the XFL talk this week, mostly because I want to get into it right where you lost a goddamn bet last week.
Yeah, the Houston Roughnecks let me down this week, but they still got the victory. They played the Tampa Bay Vipers in the Vipers home opener. This game was the first of a few big surprises of Week 3 in the young XFL season. Houston's P.J. Walker and Cam Phillips continued their dominance this week and really were the driving factor in this game. The Vipers surprisingly went into halftime tied 18-18 with the best team in the league. In the end, Cam Phillips and P.J. Walker were the biggest difference in this game for the Roughnecks, and they outlasted the Vipers 34-27. You gotta like how the Vipers rebounded after two very bad games to start the season.
I mean, they still lost, right?
Houston or the Vipers?
Yeah,
but I mean, they
played
very bad the first two games. They hadn't scored a touchdown until this week.
Trestman's still the head coach?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I really don't care to watch him at all. So, I mean,
the bet was, I bet the Nick's favorite neighbor, I bet him a case of beer that the Vipers would not, or the Houston would win by at least 10 points.
By 10.
And they won by 7. Vegas had them by 8, and they still didn't even make that. So, congratulations to you, Reeves. Go ahead and gloat.
I feel like this victory to me...
And that's enough of that. So, P.J. Walker's still like the MVP of the league, though, right?
Right. Him and Cam Phillips are right there with each other. Cam just caught another 3 touchdowns this week, so that's 6 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I think overall, though, it's...
Right. It's P.J. Walker's race to lose at this point.
I mean, I didn't watch a second of the XFL this week.
Yeah, Houston moved to 3-0. Tampa is on to 0-3. Then we had the Dallas Renegades versus the Seattle Dragons. Seattle came out early looking like the better of these two teams. Landry Jones threw 2 first-half interceptions and looked terrible. But Dallas showed in their last game their resilience, and that would be the biggest factor going down the stretch in this game. Landry Jones shook off a few early interceptions, and he ended up throwing 3 touchdowns. Dallas started leaning on that run game, and that's...
Who's their running back?
Artis Payne.
Cameron Artis Payne.
Yeah, and then Lance Dunbar. They probably have the best 2 running backs in the league. I don't know how they pulled that off, but they really started leaning on that run game, and the play action got going, and Dallas ended up winning this one 24-12. They move on. They're now 2-1. Seattle dropped to 1-2. Then we had the St. Louis Battlehawks versus the New York Guardians. St. Louis was all over the Guardians to start this one.
It was their home opener, wasn't it?
Yeah. They packed in 30,000, which is pretty good for
they were
an
tailgating
XFL game.
Well, they lost their NFL team. That was kind of cool to see, like them actually fill out that stadium.
But then after the Guardians hit a field goal to make it 3-6, St. Louis hit a reverse on a kickoff return to have the first XFL kick return for a touchdown, and that was pretty cool, actually. That made it 15-3. Matt McGloin was benched again in the second half.
Wait, why was he playing?
Well, because they don't got nobody, man. It's really him.
You could probably go sign someone off the street at this point.
Right, well, they didn't, and he got benched, and then his backup got benched, and their third-string quarterback didn't really look that good.
Did you remember his name this time?
The backup quarterback?
The third stringer.
Oh, no, that was a different team. That was with the Vipers.
I'm not going to watch enough until I get better quarterback play. Like P.J. Walker, I've enjoyed seeing the highlights.
I can't really blame you there. But
when you're consistently saying I'm okay with bringing back Matt McGloin to start the next game.
It makes you look bad.
Yeah, like as a head coach, like you go into your game plan with your coaches like, you know what sounds great this week, guys? Let's start McGloin again.
Yeah, he can't be that bad.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. St. Louis moved to 2-1, and New York drops to 1-2. I still don't know how they won a game, but DC Defenders versus the LA Wildcats. This was the biggest surprise of the week to me. After DC's came out the first 2 weeks and looked really good, LA just came out and really smacked them in the mouth. DC didn't come ready to play at all. Josh Johnson threw a 40-yard touchdown to Trey McBride early in the first quarter. Then Cardell Jones completely came apart at the seams. I don't know what happened to him in this game. He ended up throwing 4 interceptions. He got benched late in the second half. LA really controlled the ball run in the game. The running back Martez Carter had 3 touchdowns on the day. Josh Johnson also had 3 touchdowns on the day. LA ended up winning this 39-9, and it really wasn't even that close. LA finally got their first win of the season. They're 1-2 now. DC's down to 2-1, and I really can't believe that from the DC Defenders. They looked really good in the first 2 weeks, but 2 home games. So
I mean,
first game on the road.
You're gonna have ups and downs, and I mean the reason why Cardell's not in the league anymore is because of his decision making, and he makes some questionable throws. You saw it when he got drafted. I think it was Buffalo in the 4th round after they won the national title. He was going to get a chance to compete for a starting spot. I mean, obviously, that never came to fruition. Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing in the XFL. But these quarterbacks are there for a reason.
Then they traded him to the Chargers, and then he never got out from behind.
The potential's there for everybody in this league. It's just they're in this league for a reason. I've enjoyed some of the highlights. It's just they're going to need to make some bigger splash moves with quarterbacks, and they're probably going to have to restructure their salaries to where they can pay them a little more.
Go get your Tebow. Go get your Johnny.
Tebow's not coming out. Tebow just hit a home run today for the Mets. He's on the baseball kick. But
did he make it to the major leagues, or is he still in?
He's in spring training. He got an invite. We'll see if he gets sent back down. I mean, I really don't care.
Well, if it doesn't
and
work
Manziel already said
him,
it was a joke when he said he was willing to come back. So I mean, that's on him. He couldn't even start in the CFL. So
cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I mean, it always is. It's just. I like the league, I guess. I didn't watch any this weekend. It's nice to have that option to watch it. It's just the few games I've watched, the Vipers have been on, and I'm not going to watch them. And then a few other teams, they just look lost. But overall, I like a lot of the direction they're going. Some of the rule changes. I think the NFL has to implement the kickoff rules. I think that's a full-blown conclusion.
Yeah, that's a really good rule. There was a lot more flags this week than there has been in the past. They were really hammering home the hits to the head this week, which I didn't think they were really going to be worrying about that, but they started showing or enforcing those rules. So.
I mean, there's probably a panel that Oliver Luck meets with the refs every week, and they go over because they still have to get used to these rules because they're completely different. And I know they've had training for months upon months, but it's just going to take some adjustment. But I could care less. We're moving on because late last week it was approved that the owners approved their first part of the CBA negotiation talks with the NFL, what they want to get done for next year. They want 17 games, which I can't stand. The worst part about this is that it's $250,000 per player
for a 17th game.
But no, that gets capped.
Right.
If you make over $4.25 million, you only get $76,000. You got guys like Aaron Rodgers who will make, or Patrick Mahomes is about to get paid beyond belief. He's going to be making $36 million. So he's making $2 or $3 million for this game, but he's only going to be allowed to now make under these new rules $76,000. Do you really think he's going to give a shit? They're not going to put a good out product. Week 16 is already bad enough. I can't. That rule's got to go.
Yeah, I'm not a big Week 17 fan, but we'll see how it goes moving forward.
The next thing would be the playoffs. I like this. I don't know about just one team having the bye. That'll cause some issues. But the money still isn't there for the players. The payout isn't for shit. And if you get that first round bye, you don't get a cut of the first round games when there's going to be 3 games on each side.
Yeah, I don't want to see them expand the playoffs. I really like the 6 teams. I feel like you got 6 teams on each side, so 12 out of 32 teams, which is not
it's
even
all about money though with these owners.
I get what they want to do.
I would be okay with it. We added a couple more teams because there's some cities that could obviously use a team. Like St. Louis probably deserves one back. You could find some other cities that.
I wasn't saying adding.
No,
teams.
I know, but I'm saying,
teams,
but adding teams and then you could easily expand the playoffs.
Well, I would be fine with that, but I'm just saying, as of right now, the way things sit, adding another playoff team, I like that. I know they want more money, but I just don't really like.
I mean, they're going to get more money. They've got. The revenue is going to go up 1.5% for the players to split, and over the next 10 years for this agreement, that's around $5 billion freaking dollars.
Right.
People can be like, "Oh, they're going to play,"
which still isn't that much in the long term.
That's what I get in the argument when people are like, "Oh, these players are paid too much."
I really think the
NFL made
revenue shares.
over $30 billion last year.
Right.
In 1 year, the owners are making money hand over fist. They need better safety player. I'm glad that they're willing to give more in. The players are probably going to negotiate with. They're going to probably counteract with 2.5%, and that'll get hashed out. I think the 17 games is going to be a problem.
It's inevitable, at this point.
It's inevitable. I still don't like it, but the money has got to be more right there.
Right, they got to compensate the players for that 17th game.
I think one of the nice changes is that they're not doing what the NBA is doing, where they're not going to drug test for marijuana anymore.
Yeah.
But the suspensions and problems that you get for testing positive is going to lessen completely.
And they're going to lower the testing window as well.
The testing window is going to start on 420.
Right, it already does, though. It already does. At this point, it already does start on 420.
I know, but it's not going to last.
It used to last like 2 months, and now it's only going to last 2 weeks.
It lasted longer than that because I know Pat McAfee's talked about it quite a bit, because it starts again when you're at camp, and if you ever test positive, they can come to your house at any point in time in the middle of the
2 years.
For the next 2 years.
Right.
So Josh Gordon might have gotten lucky as shit.
Right.
Because he actually might get it. They're going to have to come to terms on health care. I know that's been a topic. The players want that, obviously.
That's a big deal to me, really.
I mean, they preach player safety, then they want to add a fucking 17th game.
Right.
That doesn't make... If I'm the players union, like Richard Sherman, I'm telling them to shove it up their ass on this first deal. Like, we're not even close to where it needs to be.
Yeah, as usual, I think it's a terrible...
Because they're not even going to... They didn't even offer to up the minimum contract for which I think is $750,000 now.
Yeah. They got to get that up, maybe like around $2 million or something.
They've got the money,
right?
I mean, you have these players that the average, I think, length of an NFL contract is 2.5 years for the player.
Right, and then their average,
what we see is the top 3%
is like 3 years or something.
No, I think it's 2.5.
Right.
No, I don't mean like contract length. I mean length in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to figure out and maybe get rid of the 5 inactives every game. Just put those on your 53-man roster or bump that up. And you're going to have to increase the practice squad too, just from the simple standpoint that you're going to be adding this extra game.
I really think they should fight for fully guaranteed contracts. I know they're not going to get it, but use that as a bargaining chip to get other things. Maybe like once you're out of the league, get 10 years post-playing career health coverage.
Yeah.
I think they should have it for life, but at least start
I think
out
they say
at
it was 10 or 15.
Well, they're trying for 15, but the league's telling them no, and the league's always going to say this is the only offer we're going to give you.
I mean, it's better than nothing. I mean, you see all these all-time grades.
Get 10 years. Yeah, there's people that are just, I mean, not football, but hell, we just seen Devontae West looking like a crackhead on the middle of the street in D.C.
Some serious
beat too.
Right, and that's, you never want to, I don't want to see anybody like that, but you hate to see a former athlete like that, somebody that's been at the top of the game and then now they're on the side of the road.
Right.
Bum.
So, I mean, I get it. They have until the start of next season. I don't think we're going to get in a lockout. We're already farther along than what we were.
We usually are.
10 years ago. So, I mean, we're starting there. It's just there's going to have to be, like, I think that the owners just wanted to run this through real quick right before the combine and draft started, just so it wasn't the main focal point. Another
thing I'd like to see them do is get rid of franchise tags. I know the owners will never want to do that, but I just personally I don't like those at all.
But they help in certain situations.
Yeah, but
and that player is also getting paid.
If I'm becoming a free agent, though, let me become a real free agent. Don't be able to franchise tag me and hold me for 2 years after my contract is over.
The players agree to that, though, because you get the top money at your position.
I know the players agree to that. I'm saying, though.
Kirk Cousins loved it.
Right. Good for Kirk Cousins.
Washington gave him over $50 million over 2 years.
I get that. I'm just saying that they can get their money on the open market as well and go where they want to go.
True. I mean, they can go a lot of different ways in that. I say keep that. Maybe only limit it to 1 year like it used to be before the new year.
I'd be fine with 1 year, too. Just meet somewhere in the middle. But the combine started this week, so have you seen anything that you liked on that, Nick?
Players started reporting yesterday. You had interviews starting today with coaches, GMs, some of the prospects. I know wide receivers were talking today. I listened to Ruggs. Obviously, the biggest news, though, started yesterday when they did measurements for the quarterbacks. Joe Burrow measured in at only 9 inches.
Hand measurement.
It made me measure mine at work, and I'm at 9 3/4. I did some research. The biggest hands in the last 5 years for a quarterback, you'll probably never guess.
I'm not.
Dak Prescott, 10.8. But Kyler Murray had the same size hands last year. They might have been a little smaller.
As Joe Burrow, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Murray had the lowest fumble percentage.
What did Daniel Jones have last year?
There's only been 2 players with 9-inch.
Because he had 18 fumbles last year. So
yeah, I think he was probably around 9 3/4. I'm not 100% sure on that, but
70.
That's one of the rare things that the quarterback hand measurement means absolutely nothing. I mean, we saw that Burrow had fun with it on Twitter.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes tweeted at him.
That was hilarious.
The biggest thing I saw, the first thing today, which most people aren't going to talk about, is that the weigh-ins for the receivers yesterday, what I really liked was Chase Claypool, wide receiver for Notre Dame. We're thinking 3rd, 4th round wide receiver. He's 6'5", but he weighed in at 238. Let's move him to tight end. He's a matchup nightmare at that point. He's willing to play special teams. He talked about it today. I'm going to probably move him to tight end because that, for me, that puts him in that round 2, late round 2, early round 3 grade.
Yeah, he probably should move to tight end at that point.
I mean, I really like that. I did see that Jalen Reagor said today that he'd like to play at 205 and still keep his 4.3 speed. If he can put that bulk on him, that's some serious speed at that size, but I doubt it. I mean, did you see anything off the top of your head? Because I got notes all day. I can go.
Go ahead, man. I didn't pay too much attention to it, to be honest.
The biggest thing for me, obviously, being a Colts fan, is Reich talked today and Ballard talked today. Ballard's first thing is Costanzo's coming back. Thank God. They're going to work on a 1-year deal. It's probably going to be year to year. I mean, he's 32. You play that year by year, but that would have been issue number 1 for the Colts had he decided to retire. They'll get it done. He said he doesn't think they're going to have to franchise tag him, which is good, but you're probably looking at a 1 or 2 year deal, anywhere from 18 to 20 million per year. The defensive front, he reiterated that you start and win up front. He loves this defensive line class. He loves the wide receiver class because clearly that's another need for the Colts, but he said that this class is deep, which shows again that he's going to load up on the defensive front because he can get a receiver later. What most of the people are going to take away from that is Jordan Love. What he really liked about Jordan Love is the fact that he owned up to his, I think, 18 interceptions this past year. Ballard said interceptions isn't be-all, end-all, which it isn't. He even referenced Matt Ryan at Boston College. His last year had 17. Love even said, if I didn't want to talk about him, I shouldn't have thrown them. But he's already had an interview with Ballard and the Colts, which you get 45 prospects, 15-minute interviews. He's highly intrigued about him, says he's got all the talent in the world if you look at his 2018 tape, which he does. People are going to start debating whether or not you take him there at 13. I say wait for his pro day, but I mean, that is interesting there. I still think that with everything that Ballard said today, we're looking closer to taking Javon Kinlaw or Derek Brown if he drops, which I doubt he drops that far.
I seen Gettleman from the Giants, the GM from the Giants. He was talking about he's open to trade back, but he's also worried about the risks that are involved with that.
That dumbass said, you trade back from 4, but you have your top 4 prospects. Well, no shit if you're 4th overall.
Right.
You want to see where that's at, but you lose the risk of doing that. But God forbid you move back
and get some fucking draft capital.
And the fact that you even said today, defense wins championships, offense scores points. You're a GM and you say, okay, we know that offense scores points, but you haven't done a damn thing in 2 years to do anything to that defense.
Yeah.
I'm all for them trading back right now, especially with Tua looked good today. He seems to be fine. There's no red flags that have come out yet. He's measured at over 6 foot, which is a big thing for quarterbacks, even though you look at Kyler Murray. I think they're getting away from that. It's just they've got so many holes on the offensive line, defensive line, the defense in general, that he needs to be more than willing for a team that's willing to jump, that is willing to jump Miami to come in and get a couple extra picks. It won't hurt. You are going to waste Saquon's entire prime of his career if you don't build now.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Bruce Arians, though, if you don't know who that is, he's the head coach for the Bucs. He is a lightning stick up on the mic, always like the best dressed. He's badass. He was asked today about the refs, if they're going to do the sky cam that the XFL does. He's like, well, they got to do something because the refs are always screwing shit up and they still can't get it right. But the biggest thing was, he says they have 2 options. They know they can win with Jameis, but he wants to look at option 2, winning without Jameis, and we'll be the first to know if he decides to move on. That's still a possibility. The biggest takeaway I took from him, though, is that he wants to bring back JPP, Shaq Barrett, and Ndamukong Suh, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't either. I think Suh's going to try to get his last big payday. JPP, who knows what will happen this 4th of July. But Barrett, he led the league in sacks. You know he's he's going to take a little bit of a step back. He's not going to have as good of a year as he had, but
the signs are there for him. Yeah, the signs are there for him to be a really good pass rusher. I think him saying that, though, is that they're going to either draft a quarterback there early second, maybe 14th, but they might bring back Jameis, but they're going to have to franchise him because Jameis, he's want to get paid.
Yeah, and then you got the Jags, and their biggest takeaway was we have 2 starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, their GM said cool, congrats. Neither one of them are elite starters or even above average yet. Right. Maybe Minshew is, but that's the only thing I think I took away from them.
I mean, go with Uncle Rico and see where it goes,
Yeah, ride him into the sunset. The Falcons, though, Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff were talking today. The biggest thing from them, the funniest thing I thought was they asked him, Chase Young's not participating in any on-field drills. Who gives a shit? He's like,
right,
he's going to be the number 2.
If it wasn't for Joe Burrow, he'd be the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and then he's like, well, now if he doesn't run at his pro day, maybe some teams will pass on him. He's like, you know what, actually, I hope he doesn't do anything in his pro day so they can fall to us.
Right, he would never fall that far, but I get what he's saying.
But they're not picking up Tack McKinley's 5th-year rookie deal option, so that's another first-rounder they're going to let walk after the end of next year unless he has a breakout year and they want to re-sign him. But they also publicly said today that they're going to let Austin Hooper, Devondre Campbell, and Weiss Switzer, their guard, all test the free agency market, and hopefully they'll come back with better deals.
They're all going to be gone.
I don't see any of them going. Hooper's gone. At that point, you think he's going to come back. You can't afford him at the price he's going to get paid to be a starting tight end.
I'm not a big Hooper fan, but he's a big part of their offense.
He's deserved a payday.
Yeah.
Devondre Campbell, their linebacker, they need to bring back. I don't know what he's expecting. If he's expecting to get $25 to $27 million, I don't think that's going to happen. But he played over 90% of their snaps, like we talked about.
He might work out for them in that aspect, but
yeah,
I don't get what the Falcons are doing. Really, I don't like a lot of their moves. I liked getting rid of Vic Beasley because he's never really panned out yet. Yeah, there was one good year.
There was no need to bring him back. He what was that, 2017 when he had the 16.5 sacks, the Super Bowl run. There's no need to bring him back. I mean, they're not a complete mess. I still think they've got a really good core foundation, but a team that doesn't have shit from top to bottom is the Jets.
Yeah.
I mean, Gase is still the head coach. Their GM talked today. They want Bell there. They want to make him the focus, but this didn't come out of Gase's mouth, so that kind of surprised me. But they talked about he needs to be the focal piece, and they need to let Darnold develop, and they need to get him help up front for both those guys. They love the speed in this class. They've mentioned Judy and Ruggs. They're not going to be there at 13, I think, or at 12. They might be there, or no, they're 11. But what he said, though, is they need versatility along that offensive line.
They do.
Because he mentioned KJ Hamler and Jalen Reagor receivers in the second round with elite speed. They're going, I think everything they said today, they're going to tackle at that 11 spot. That's the only reason I like this combine. I think almost 50% of the stuff you hear is complete bullshit from coaches and GMs. Yeah. They're just throwing up flares and trying to send off smoke signals. But I think at this point they are looking at tackle right there. And then the only other smart thing I've heard them say in probably a few years is that Jamal Adams needs to be a Jet for life.
I don't think anybody can disagree with that.
Yeah,
He's their best player by far.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to bring him back. I know there was the rumors last year they're going to trade him to Dallas. I don't think they can get enough simply in return for what they would want for him, because Dallas can't give up enough because they don't have a first round.
You can't trade a staple of your defense for a first round pick. I mean, you can, but then
the next team we're talking about literally did that with the Raiders.
Right, but
and it worked out because
it worked out for them, but
it worked out for Chicago too. They've been really good.
Nothing worked out for the Jets ever.
Super Bowl III? Does that count?
No, that doesn't count.
I mean, that kind of counts. That's a Super Bowl.
Not for me.
I mean, as long as they never win one again, I'll kind of be happy.
You got a pretty good run going with that.
So. Yeah, I mean...
We'll be back in a couple of years.
Oh, God damn it. Here comes the roof.
Here we go.
All right, so on to the Raiders. Mike Mayock... The only thing I really took away was that he didn't want to move the combine. Irsay talked about that on Sunday. He needs to stay in India.
They want to move it to LA.
Yeah, no, keep it here. It's been here for 20-plus years.
No, I mean the NFL.
I know, and it's a great... But because they want to rotate it like they do the damn draft, it is perfect to where everything is centrally located where they run you through the drills at Lucas Oil, the convention center, they bring in all the doctors. The hotel is right there where they do all the interviews. You do that in LA or another big city, you're all over the goddamn place. It's not going to work out. I love that he said that. The Browns, their brand new GM talked today. they're going to fucking tender the rights to Kareem Hunt, who's a free agent, which kind of surprised me. What do you put, like a third or fourth rounder on him?
Well, you seen that TMZ video too, or a couple weeks ago, didn't you?
Yeah, everybody saw that. But they also said Odell is a part of their future.
He should be. I mean,
he should be, but that's another thing where they're just blowing smoke. If they get a good enough deal, he's out of there.
Yeah, easily. If you get a big offer on him, then I would probably move him too. But LaFleur for the Packers, he wants to get another back involved to take carries away from Adam Jones, also Jamal Williams.
He had 18 touchdowns last year.
Right.
And you're going to talk about drafting another goddamn running back.
Why do you want to take the ball out of his hands? That doesn't make very much sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense. Get another playmaker to throw the ball a little more and keep it balanced. Adam Jones looked great. Right. I mean, Jamal's a decent change of pace back.
Get rid of Jimmy Graham and get a tight end that'll play a fucking game.
Or show up who just...
Yeah. Austin Hooper.
Yeah, or Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I mean...
You could get a lot of tight ends for Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to look great. He's going to make them look great. They just need to get more weapons for him.
I just didn't agree with...
They don't need another fucking running back, though. Like,
I mean, you can take a special teams type running back that's good on... But to make that, even talk about that today, like you're going to consider that in the first 3 rounds, just blew my mind. I mean, the only other thing... It doesn't make any sense. They shouldn't go that route. If they do, I won't be surprised if LaFleur wants to run the ball, but he won't throw that. It just.
And then you got Bob Quinn for the Lions. He said there's not a chance of them trading Matthew Stafford, but all options are open for Darius Slay.
I think we all knew the Darius Slay options.
He doesn't want to be there.
There was a rumor that the Rams would have to trade 2 players plus like a 3rd round pick just for Darius Slay.
What,
like
2 players?
Robert Woods, and I couldn't remember the other name.
Robert Woods is good.
It might be a sign and trade with Corey Littleton, who's a free agent.
That would be a good deal for both teams, I feel like. But I wouldn't if I'm the Rams, I'm finding a way to keep Littleton in the building, man. Like he flies around the field. He makes.
They don't have the money. They flat out don't have the money. But
what, Reeves?
If you do that, that means you're not going to pay Jalen Ramsey if you go get Slay. I don't think you do. You don't have the cap space.
Well, Slay's not up for another year, or Ramsey's not up for another year, but that would give you on the outside.
Oh, I know it'd be
Darius Slay.
I just don't. That means they're going to let Ramsey walk the ball.
No, they're not going to let Ramsey.
That doesn't mean that.
That doesn't mean that at all. But what the bigger thing is, though, is that they're not going to try to trade Stafford. He even said you could put 3 exclamation points after that sentence.
Which they shouldn't.
But hear me out.
He's everything.
If Tua works out this week, what about drafting Tua and let him sit a year or 2 under Stafford, kind of like what Rodgers did in Green Bay and a few other places? I mean, that's a serious option if you want to look towards your future.
Right. That wouldn't be the worst thing.
That'll throw everything off the draft. But
that wouldn't be the worst plan to have in place, but I think Stafford could get it done for you for the next 3 years.
At least. But it's a serious conversation, and you're not probably going to be in this draft spot next year. You've got a halfway decent roster because you have Stafford. Stafford's going to win you
at least 7 games.
At least 6. Probably. Let's say at least 6 games. You're not going to be the worst team in the league next year. Yes, you play in a super competitive division that's tough, but you need to look at his replacement at some point. Like, he's taken some hits over the years. Obviously, early in his career, he's missing a lot of games, but he was playing like an MVP last year, granted, but Father Time always catches up with someone. But you need to see him throw, but Tua's not going to throw just because of working back his weight injury. There's actually a lot of players that aren't going to be doing on-the-field workouts this week, which is becoming more and more common for almost first-round locks because they have nothing to prove. They'll do their pro day under their own coaches, under their own systems, because Chase Young announced today, or I think yesterday, that he wasn't going to do it. Kayvon Chason out of LSU is not going to do anything. Neither is Grant Delpit out of LSU, and then Javon Kinlaw, the D tackle out of South Carolina. They're not going to work out. So there's 4 first-rounders already that have committed not to doing anything, which I also think you're going to see the top 4 quarterbacks do the same thing.
Yeah, I don't see I don't see either one.
Burrow,
those 4 quarterbacks.
Burrow, Tua, Herbert, and Love. I don't see them throwing or at all. Maybe they
Love is the only one I could see really getting
Love's not going to throw. He might
run
the 40. Herbert might run the 40. They might do a couple drills, but I don't see the point. Yeah, you want to see the 40, but that's not end-all, be-all. It's nice to see, like Russell Wilson had that 4.55 a few years ago.
Yeah, if you're a burner as a quarterback, yeah, run the 40. But if you're fucking, Tom Brady out there, probably shouldn't.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's the same thing. You subject yourself to all the weigh-ins and stuff. Yeah, go do that. Who cares about hand size? I mean, you shouldn't. I mean, Zach Taylor was the one in charge of doing the hand sizes. So he did Joe Burrow's, and then he came out today in his press conference that he hasn't had a chance to talk to Burrow. So he has. Obviously, it hasn't been like the interview yet. They've talked to Tua, but they love Tua, but they haven't gotten a chance to sit. You have to schedule your meetings with players. By the way, most people don't know that. I know Reeves' dumbass didn't. But they'll talk to him. Joe's going to be the number one guy. He's already confirmed it.
Before Tua.
But they also talked about you go by time slots, and Burrow's probably a little more wanted right now than Tua because he's going to be the number one overall draft pick. But they also want to bring back A.J. Green.
He's a no-brainer. I mean, he can't stay healthy, but they don't really have much. They got, not John Ross, but the other receiver they have there. It's
Tyler Boyd.
It slipped my mind. He's good, man. I like Tyler Boyd, but he's a number 2. He's not a number 1 wide receiver. You need A.J. Green there.
It was just a freak injury that kept him out. That ankle never got healthy.
Yeah, and then they were so far out of it.
People forget how elite he is when he plays because he's had Dalton throwing
and then
to him.
by week 10, when he could have came back, possibly, they were so far out of it that there was no sense in him playing.
He did need to go out there.
He's not coming back to Cincinnati.
I mean, they have his rights, so they could obviously franchise tag him. He can one out all he wants.
Even before the draft, he got drafted. He said that regardless of who he got drafted by, that's who he wanted to spend his career with.
Yeah, he's willing to. He wants to get paid, but he doesn't want to get Julio Jones. I'm sure he wants Julio Jones money, but he doesn't. It's not his main thing.
He's too late in his career to get Julio Jones money. That would have been his last contract. He wants to win, I think, right now is the biggest thing. He's never really had a great number 2 receiver to line up across now that Tyler Boyd's gotten better last year, especially with him out.
Yeah.
That's proven a thing. You got question marks because Eifert's a free agent and he couldn't stay healthy.
He hasn't been able to stay healthy really the last 2 years.
I think it's longer than that. I mean, he has
at least.
Well, 2 years ago, he snapped his leg.
Right.
His ankle. But you seriously look into that. There's so much more that's going to go on this week. We'll talk more about the combine next week. I mean, we haven't even gone into drills. This is only the quarterbacks, receivers talking today. You had tight end measurements and you have everything going on, but the first couple days are just coaches and GM interviews, which is what you want to see. And we're going to get into more of the other stuff. But before we get into our top free agents, check out our first promo from our first sponsor, Anchor. Hey everyone, this is Nick from the Heavyweights Podcast. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about podcasting. I know some of you thought about starting it, but what we did is we went to Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast, and I'm not even kidding. Let me start with it's free. Nothing's better than that. They have unlimited creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast. I'm talking it's going on Spotify, it's going on Google Play, it's going on iTunes, and so many more. You can make money from your podcast too. They allow you to sponsor them, and they try to find you better sponsors to match what you're talking about on your podcast. I'm telling you, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place at Anchor.fm. Download the app on whatever app service you have on your phone. Trust me, it's worth it. Thanks, guys. All right, for our top 20 free agents, me and you came up with our top 20. We let Reeves join in with us again this week just because I know a lot of people like hearing him argue with me because his lists aren't the best. But we're here. But what I did a little different than everybody else is I left out players that I know that are going to return. I know you'll see a lot of lists out there that say Drew Brees is on there. I left him out. I left Dak Prescott out because I think him and Amari Cooper go back to Dallas. I believe Tannehill and Henry are going back to Tennessee too. I think they're going to pay him. I don't agree with paying Henry that much, but I guarantee you they're going
to overpay him.
Yeah, you have. I mean, the way he had those runs, but I just think that's too much. Who did you have for your number 1 overall free agent?
I went with Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney. He's the best pass rusher besides Chris Jones. I just think he can find a way. If he finds a way to stay healthy, he's a hell of a player.
But he hasn't found a single way to stay healthy. He's played 1 full season. He's never topped more than 10 sacks in an entire season. He's not a pass rush specialist. He's damn good against the run. He's not worth this $20 to $25 million that he's going to command that he wants.
I think he's only going to get about 18. But
I don't have him as my number 1. I think he's even farther down than me. I don't even think I have him in my top 10.
You got one.
I've got Teddy Bridgewater just because I think this is also how teams are going to perceive this quarterback class for free agents. It's rare to see you've got Rivers
names.
and this many names. Some of them are past their prime, but Bridgewater's the youngest. He looked decent in those 5, actually pretty damn good in those 5 games. He replaced Drew Brees. He's got the potential. You do have some question marks with health history. He can win you some games. He's not going to lose you games, but he's a high-risk, high-reward type quarterback you bring in because you might get, a top 15. But I think he's got the potential to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he's going to be the number one target for a lot of teams because he's going to go somewhere and get the starting job this year.
Agreed. I got Dak, but like Klein said earlier, he's going to wind up with Dallas to be too stupid to let him go.
He's either getting franchise tagged or they're signing the deal.
And I don't know what
you got to pay him.
They're not waiting on him.
That's the only reason Cooper's on my list because I think they're going to have to franchise tag Dak. So I think
they'll still have the money
they'll have the money for him, but he's going to take other offers too.
I don't think he goes and talks to any other teams. I think it's straight. He's going to
watch
stay
out for the Eagles.
No, Colts or Bucks if he goes anywhere.
Colts aren't going to pay him. He's got too many drop hit shoes. My number 2 guy, though, is Chris Jones, who I think is the best overall player. I mean, he's only 26. He's got 58. He had 58 quarterback pressures last year, which is unreal for him.
Didn't he have like 19 sacks 2 years ago or something like that?
2 years ago, I think it was 16 and a half. Might have been more. But he's had 24 and a half over the last 2 seasons. He can play that 3 technique and 5 technique. He's got some issues with staying healthy. I know he got hurt a little bit this year, but he is a rare, that size he can bat passes down to be able to line up in the 1, 3, or 5 technique. He's going to be one of the most coveted players on this market.
Yeah, that's who I went with at number 2 as well. I really battled. He was right there at my number 1, but
I think it's not even close.
I think Clowney has a big upside that he just hasn't reached his full potential yet.
Yeah, I just think there is no way that Clowney is even on the same level as Chris Jones. We hear everything about time and time again. Jadeveon Clowney, number 1 pick. Everybody references that South Carolina Michigan bowl game where he had that hit.
I'm not going off.
He hasn't produced what he needs to be to earn the type of money that he's gonna want. It's not there for me. That's why I'm gonna put him down there on this list. He's not a bad player. He's just not top of the list. What I'm more interested in is to hear your dumbass pick for number 2.
Well, you're gonna be shocked at this. I don't agree with you hardly at all, but on Clowney, I do. No offense, Urban.
No offense.
My number 2 guy I got on the board is Drew Brees. Even though a couple podcasts ago I said the Saints should probably not get him, but he's obviously come back to the Saints. He's my number 2 guy.
Who do you got for 3, Urban?
I went with A.J. Green at 3. I still think he's one of the top 7 wide receivers in this league. Anybody that gets him is adding a true number 1, and the Bengals are dumb if they don't throw everything at him to bring him back.
I mean, I don't think you throw everything at him.
Not everything.
That'd be a great pairing to go with Burrow. Give him that staple of a true number 1 receiver. Plus, he'll have the option with Tyler Boyd across from him. I went with Tom Brady just because I think he's going to be more looked at than what I would consider. I mean, he'll be that leader in your locker room. He's obviously won 6 Super Bowls. A bridge guy for maybe 2 more seasons, maybe 3 if that's what he wants to do. But you'll keep around. The arm strength's not there, but he still didn't have a terrible season. I mean, it wasn't great. You put him on an offense that's got a decent offensive line, got some options on the edge, because all he really had was Julian Edelman. Dorsett was hurt. They let Antonio Brown go. They cut Josh Gordon. They just didn't have enough weapons around him, and they built on their defense. I don't think he comes back to New England, but I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, would be the right word to say if he did.
Who'd you go with at 3?
I got Brady as well at the number 3. I think he does come back to New England. He is the GOAT. I know Colts fans hate to hear that. I hate to hear that.
I mean, anybody that disagrees with that is just
the guy can still probably get you a championship with the right pieces around him.
I agree. That's why he's my number 4.
It's a good trend.
I like him to go to Tennessee. That's my favorite target for him. But I wouldn't be surprised at all again if he ends up back in New England. You like him at the Raiders. I like him at the Chargers as well. It's a toss-up, really, to see where he ends up.
I mean, the Chargers could even head towards drafting Herbert and let him develop behind Brady, which wouldn't be a bad idea either because you got a quarterback that can win now. And you're not really going to learn from anybody better than Brady than what he's gone through in New England for the past 15-plus years. I've got Justin Simmons, safety for Denver, completely underrated.
He's a good player.
John Elway said today before I made this list, or like right after I made this list, and I was going to change it, that they will franchise tag him if they have to. And they should, because he's not talked. He didn't get All-Pro this year, which he should have. Over the last 2 years, I mean, this dude can line up in the box, corner slot, safety. He had 7 interceptions, 19 passes defended, 190 tackles with only 6 missed tackles. I mean, he is their best player on defense, probably outside of Von Miller. And we'll see what Bradley Chubb can develop into, because he looked good until he got hurt this past year. But it's a foregone conclusion. We don't need to talk about it anymore. He's coming back to Denver for at least 1 more year.
Yeah. Who you got it for?
I got Brandon Sheriff, the guard out of the Washington Redskins.
Sheriff,
Shife, whatever you want to call him. I think he's the best guard
Tell him how to
in free
pronounce
agency.
just let it go.
But I like him. I think he's the most safest free agent out of this free agency.
The safest?
Yes.
On what opinion?
Huh?
The safest offensive lineman or the safest fucking free agent?
Probably the safest free agent. I'll go with... You're staring at me like you've seen a ghost.
Because he's not.
He is. And I think, wherever either he resigns with Washington, which I highly doubt it, I think the Jets could really use him to help out Darnold. I like Brendan. I got Sheriff at the 4th.
Sure. All right. I've got him way down on my list. I think he's a great guard. He'll be one of the top guards to come out of this free agent class. Former top 10 pick, couldn't play for shit at tackle. They slid him inside. Great
guard.
And that's what he is. That's what he's played the last week. No, but he's good. But he's an elite run blocker when he's healthy. He is solid in gap and zone schemes on the run game, but he struggles against solid pass interior rushers. He is not a safe bet, because if he goes to a division that's got some really good players in the middle, like he has to play Aaron Donald twice a year, which was almost anybody. But Ndamukong Suh would eat him alive. Chris Jones would eat him alive. He's not as safe as you think. He's good, not great. He is nowhere near deserving of a top 5 free agent list right here.
Well, at number 5, that's who I went with at number 5.
Oh my God!
I disagree that he's not worthy, but I
just think this class has so many better players. Like I'm not taking anything away from him. He's just the overall package isn't there. He struggles so much in pass
Teddy
protection.
Bridgewater over Brady.
Yeah, because he's
talking about longevity. I get what he's trying to say there.
Yeah, you have the potential to lock him up for another 10 years. Brady's not going to play until he's 54.
I don't agree with that, but I could see where he's going with that. But I got him at number 5. I think he's going to be one of the most sought-after guys, and that's what I went with. Who'd you go with the 5, Nick?
I went Anthony Harris, safety, Minnesota, another player that most people don't talk about. He's only 26. He lined up in the box 40% of the last time. I know last season. A lot of people don't talk about like the safeties, how they rotate him around now.
Right.
He can cover almost the entire middle of your field. He had 100 tackle attempts last year, missed 4 tackles. He wraps up and finishes, and he's not afraid to hit. And he's also had 9 picks in the last 2 years. I think he is a starter. Like Tampa Bay would need a safety. Go there. He is going to be your starter for the next 5 to 6 years at a high level play. He should have been a Pro Bowler this past year. He wasn't. No one's going to really talk about him, but whoever gets him, because Minnesota's not going to be able to keep him, they're getting a great, great starter that's still young.
Didn't he tie the interception? Have tied for the most interceptions this season, I think, too.
In a season?
No, this season.
Oh.
No, Gilmore led the league in interceptions this year.
I thought they were both tied.
No, he had 9 over the last 2 years, but no, he did not.
Who you got at 5?
I got Clowney at 5. I think he ain't coming back to Seattle. I think the Titans would be a great fit for him.
All right, who you got at 6, Nick?
I went with Chris Harris Jr. Denver is not going to bring him back, which I don't understand why.
He doesn't want to come back.
He wants to win. He was on Pat McAfee today. He wants to win number 1, which I get. Like when he came in, they won the division 5 straight years, won a Super Bowl. He is still a lockdown corner. I know he's 31, but you can get probably 2 to 3 more years of elite play. But the thing about him that's beautiful is like he doesn't have to pick and choose where he wants to go. He's damn good in zone and man-to-man. And he has been by far the best slot corner in this league for the last... Since he's been in the league, probably over the last 10 years, though, overall, whoever you want to match up against him, he's been the best slot corner.
He's my number 6 pick as well. I really think the Colts need to really go after him. I think 2-year, something around $15 million a year would be...
I would go more towards the Eagles or the Texans.
Right, but...
Chris Ballard still likes that youth, though, that he has on the
That's fine, but I think he'd be a good locker room guy in there to have.
Yeah, I think so, too.
For the young guys to learn from. But
I mean, I don't mind
I think
that.
he'd be a real good fit with the Colts.
I really like that right there. I don't actually have him on my board with corners. I just think he's just too old. I don't think he's just going to be.
Did
that
you
good
watch
this
him last
season.
year at all? Like,
Yeah, but that's the new year. They can just fall off.
Right on.
I got Joe Tooney at 6, another guard. I thought Clyde looks like he's about to
Get him,
slam his head
Clyde.
against the desk. I really, again, another safe free agent, I think.
I mean, I like him. He's young. Another person that struggled with interior pass blocking. But he's turned out to be great the last 2 seasons over there in New England. I like him. He's on my list, again, way down. I'm not the biggest fan at that high. He's going to get a starting spot wherever he goes. At what price? He's not a Pro Bowl level guard, but he's a good starter. Because the other people I have ahead of him are Pro Bowl type players or all pro. So that's why you put them higher on a list.
Anthony Harris.
Yeah.
Like he had 1 good year finally.
2 good years, but okay.
But with my number 7 top free agent, I went with Shaquille Barrett for the Buccaneers. He led the league in sacks this year, and I believe he's going to go back to the Bucs. They're going to do whatever they need to do to get him back.
I think that's smart.
But he's my number 7. He had a really great year this year, and any team would be lucky to have him coming off the edge.
No, I agree, and I think they should try to bring him back. I mean, if he's willing to not take, premium pass rushing money just because of the 1 year, if he's willing to negotiate for 12 to 14, you can look at it. Because they've got the cap space there. I think they've got almost $75 million. I went with Phillip Rivers here. My only question is he can win you 8 to 10 games. He's going to lose you some games. We know he's not clutch in the
He was their
late
biggest
game.
reason they lost a lot of games last year.
But he's still good enough to win you some. I just don't know where the hell he fits anymore. Like,
that's why I don't even have him on my list. I don't even know where he would go.
He's got to go somewhere. I just don't know where because he's not going to. Someone's going to pay him. Maybe Tampa. I don't see it.
But he doesn't fit in their offense.
He doesn't fit with what Bruce Arians wants to do anymore. The Raiders, which I can't see Gruden going that old unless it's Tom Brady.
They said today that Mike Mayock said that he was really happy with Derek Carr moving forward as long as he continues to play well.
That's blowing smoke up your ass.
Right, but you could still trade him easy.
I got a dark horse for the Rivers. What about the Browns, possibly?
No, they have Baker
They're
Mayfield.
not
Shut the
moving
fuck
on
up.
from
Oh
Baker
my God.
Mayfield already.
I would move on from Baker, but that's just
that's
me.
you.
Baker's
But yeah,
already-
he'd stick with fucking Sam Darnold.
Right.
Yeah.
How
all
about
day.
the Jets take him then?
I don't want Rivers.
Okay, so
'Cause he has no
why the fuck
authority
would
to
the
all
Browns
songs.
want him then?
Because he's
Over the number
he ain't
1
better
overall
than,
pick?
He's
Come
not
on,
better than
Reeves.
Darnold.
Come on, Reeves.
He's not better than Darnold. He's a lot better than Baker. By far.
God damn
Can
it.
we move on to the next?
Who you got 7?
Hey, Yannick
You're about to-
Ngakoue.
You're about to lose your right to talk on this show.
Why? Because my picks are right on point.
Go with
Ngakoue.
your 7, yeah.
I got him. He is either hit or miss. Does he need another counterpart, I think, possibly to complement him? I think New England could use him.
They don't pay free agents, but good try.
Or Ravens or Titans.
Ravens don't pay free agents unless it's their own internal player, but good try. Who do you have, Urban?
At 8, I went with Eric Armstead. He's probably he's at the very top of the interior defensive lineman in the league, but we'll see if he goes away from San Francisco, if he can produce with not having that much talent around him, if he starts getting more double teams, and he starts having to be the focal point of a defensive line.
All right. I took A.J. Green. I know he's 32. He's still elite. I think, like I said, we've talked about, people forget how good he is. So from 2010 to 2019, he was 3rd in the decade on 20 yards downfield with over 3,200. He's got that ridiculous elite speed. He can jump out of this world. He just...
Great in the red zone.
You can double team him all you want. I still think he's got at least another good... not just a dominant year in him. He could probably get 2 to 3. I don't see him slowing down. As long as his ankle's all good, if I'm a team that's got a young quarterback, I'm seriously taking a hard look at him that they want to win now. They want to take the next step forward. Or he goes to a quarterback-savvy team that needs just another piece like Philadelphia, which I doubt. But, I mean, he's got a lot of options. But
he can fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
You're taking him over Amari Cooper?
I didn't leave Amari Cooper on this list because I think he's going back to Dallas.
Who do you got at 8?
So you should listen to me like I tell you every fucking week when I start these.
Dallas could pay Amari, but we'll see. But I got Amari at the 8. But unfortunately, I do have him going back to Dallas if they can figure out paying him.
You just said that you didn't. They're not.
Well, they're either going to pay him or Byron Jones. I think they're going to take Amari Cooper over.
Yeah, they're
Byron Jones.
They're definitely if they're going to pay
So,
anybody there, they're paying Amari Cooper.
So.
But I have Amari Cooper at 9. I think that he's going to go out on the free agent market because I think Dak Prescott's going to get that franchise tag. So you can't franchise tag Amari Cooper there. So he'll be able to go weigh his options. Eagles are going to be heavy there for him. There's going to be a lot of teams in the market for him if he's available.
No, I get that. I
get why you don't have him on your list, but
yeah, I think he goes back. He's their number 2 clear-cut option after Dak's deal. And if they franchise Dak, they're going to figure out a way to sign, and it'll probably be front-loaded with a shit ton of guaranteed money this year.
Who you got at 9?
I've got Yannick Ngakoue. The only concern here is production fell off the last 2 years after he had, I think, 17.5 sacks. His lowest pressure rate and sack totals of his career this year through his first 4 years. He showed he could play in coverage a little bit this year. I know he had an interception, a couple passes defended. I just don't know if you're getting that elite pass rusher from 2 years ago or you're getting the good, solid role player that could make a couple Pro Bowls here. But again, that's not going to command the money that he wants. Flat out, Jacksonville couldn't re-sign him. There's some question marks. Is he already on the downside of his career, or did he peak just because he played on that dominant Jacksonville team with Calais Campbell, who was a defensive player of the year, front runner that year?
And Fowler when he was doing all right back then.
I mean, they had so many pieces. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks for me.
At 9 here, I got Bud Dupree. The guy finally had a breakout year this season for the Steelers. I liked him when he came out of Kentucky. Do the Steelers re-sign him? I know they're very good at drafting linebackers, but I think he'd probably get overpaid, and probably Miami would probably.
I think the reason he had his best year this year is because T.J. Watt just had one. He could have been in. He was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, but easily could have been Defensive Player.
Also, that rookie Devin Bush? Devin Bush,
he's a middle linebacker.
Yeah, but Dupree though, it helps to complement him though too.
He's an outside edge rusher.
It'd be the other way around.
They're linebacker though.
T.J. Watt.
Oh man.
They're rushers, man. They're not big pass coverage guys. Watt backs off more than Dupree did, but Watt's main job is get after the pass.
The pass rush is when a player on the ball snap.
Quarterback gets I like Bud Dupree though.
Yeah, I don't even have him. I wouldn't even have him in my top 25, and not even probably top 30.
Who you got at 10, Nick?
Byron Jones, because I honestly think I even have my notes down here. Going to be the odd man out, likely in Dallas. Had a down year last year, but still of a freak of an athlete. I mean, that broad jump was 13.5 inches at the combine years ago. They put him finally back at the corner spot when they tried moving him to safety because that didn't work out. He's still strong enough to play on the outside of the corner, but he's also can cover tight ends. He's your number 2 corner in this class. Obviously, Chris Harris is better. He's been so inconsistent. Do you bank on, again, the 2018 tape, or do you go with the average, little above average player that he was last year?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point of this free agency. These players, there's so many question marks. That's why they're free agents.
Right, and at 10, for me, I've got another guy with a lot of question marks. I think he'll be best off if he gets in a camp and has a full spring of practice. I went with Melvin Gordon, the running back from the Chargers. A lot of people were down on him after this year because he had the contract issues and he didn't really get into playing shape till the end of the year.
They announced today, though, the Chargers GM and Anthony Lynn announced that they want to bring him back.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, at what cost, though?
Yeah, that's the thing. What money is he going to try to get from them? I don't know, but that's who I got at 10.
At 10, I got the edge rusher from Baltimore, Matthew Judon. I think he goes back to Baltimore if they can pay him.
I don't think they can afford him. I think they're going to look other routes, but, I mean, Judon's not bad. It's a hell of a lot better than Bud Dupree.
At 11, I went with Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay.
We touched on him a lot earlier. He's going to have a lot of people looking at him. I really like him to go in. A lot of Bears fans probably wouldn't like hearing this, but I would definitely bring him in there to compete with Mitchell Trubisky. A lot of people are going to say it.
But the only problem is that at that point you're already paying him basically to be the starter, which I would be okay with. You need to give up on Trubisky.
I would.
Ryan Pace is going to
fucking door if you could.
Ryan Pace is going to ride that train till it fucking goes.
Right, I get it. He drafted him. He's trying to hold on to his job, but
I mean, I'd like that. It's just it's not going to happen.
Who you got at 11?
I took Eric Armstead. I mean, he had 4 decent years. Like, I guess you could say good years. But he broke out last year. He had 10 sacks, 5 run stuffs, and 2 forced fumbles. But, again, is he the closer to the player that he was last year? That was a big game changer? Or is he just a really good role player on that D-line? So where do you...
It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and so I know they talked about, like, there's a possibility that they franchise tag him. He's not worth the franchise tag.
No, not in my eyes. Well, he was the one that said he would welcome the franchise tag. I'm sure you fucking would, but I'm sure you would.
But in his eyes, does he think he deserves at least $16-17 million a year?
I'm sure he thinks that.
Yeah, I think maybe 8.
Everybody thinks they're worth more than they are, so...
I got Byron Jones, corner out of Dallas. I agree with Klein. He's the odd man out. I see him winding up in San Francisco.
I mean, I don't know. Okay.
Who you got at 12?
I took Shaq Barrett again. I mean, you want to talk about concerns about 1 year of production when you have 19.5 sacks, but I went back and looked a little. He also had 80 pressures on the quarterback.
Right.
That D-line in Tampa Bay was great. I think they need to look at bringing him back. I think he's closer to the 19. I think he's probably a good 10 to 13 a year sack guy at this point.
Right.
I mean, I know he had 6.5 his rookie year out in Denver, but I think he's closer to being that elite pass rusher than he is just being a role player that plays 30% of the snaps.
At 12, I got a pass rusher as well. I went with Eberson Griffin off of the Vikings.
He's coming back. He took that clause to get out of his contract so they can renegotiate.
So he's going to try to take less money then? Or?
Yeah, so he was one of 2 players in the league that if he didn't hit... Or if he hit enough stats, he was allowed to opt out. Okay. And he's been expected the entire time, and he's going to come back.
But if he's on the open market, he's going to have a lot of suitors.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, the last 10 years have been in Minnesota for him. I mean, he's been great.
I mean, he might not want to switch teams. I'm just saying.
Right, no, I mean,
on the list of free agents, he's up there for me. If he's going to go have field offers anywhere, Colts would to put him alongside with him.
Ballard said today that he'd be more willing.
Though, could you imagine that tandem?
But Ballard said today he's more willing to bring in a big name free agent to help with this locker room. So you would think
that would be like a Chris Jones,
or
a Chris Harris, even.
or Eric Armstead. Yannick Ngakoue, God no, I hope not.
I'm not for $22 million.
No, I'd look at Eric Armstead and Chris Jones first.
Who you got at 12, Reeves?
I got Derrick Henry. That's all I got to say about that.
All right, moving on. 13, I got Jadeveon Clowney. We've talked about this. I don't need to repeat myself. It's not there. He's a good, damn good player. He's just not all pro.
13, I went with Justin Simmons, the safety from Denver. He's a hell of a player, but we touched on it earlier. They're planning on franchise tagging him if they can't come to an agreement. But if he is on the open market, he's going to have a lot of suitors.
Oh, yeah, by far. He's the best secondary player on this market.
Go ahead, Reeves.
I had the same thing as you at 13, Justin Simmons. Next.
All right. We'll go with 14. Who you got at 14, Reeves?
I went with Dante Fowler. The guy the ceiling is, I think, closing in on him for sure. I think the edge rushers, people are just going to just be sold on.
Ceiling closed on him a long time ago. If you watch him at all this last year.
When you pair him, here's my thing with him. You pair him with Aaron Donald, and he doesn't blow up. Yeah. That should tell you a lot. Most of everything you need to know about him, that he's a rotational guy. He's not a guy that needs to be on the field every down. So I don't really think he's a top like that at all. But I mean, that's your opinion.
Yeah,
it's a terrible opinion. Who you got?
At 14, I got Jordan Howard, the running back from the Eagles this past year.
Okay.
He had some really good years in Chicago back in the day, and he could fit in anywhere, really. He's a really good running back.
He's a good change of pace back that you're going to bring in. You move in your chair one more time, though, I'm going to break your fucking neck. Anyway, though,
still chair you across the goddamn head.
14, I got Corey Littleton. We hit on him a little bit. Complete coverage linebacker. You can say, like, I know a lot of people say he struggles in the run game and he misses tackles. This motherfucker had 259 combined tackles over the last 2 years, 7.5 sacks, 18 pass breakups, and 6 interceptions. He is one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. St. Louis can't afford to keep him. That he's gonna be able to go.
St. Louis has a team.
Still going to say St. Louis, just like I'll freaking say San Diego so many times. But he's going to be able to go wherever he wants.
Who'd you have, Reeves?
I got Eric Armstead. I am not sold on him. I think he's overrated at the position. And I think he just shined because of Bosa and Buckner. So, moving on.
Okay, who you got at 15?
Nick? Yeah, I'll go. Hunter Henry. We all saw that game. He came back after he was injured the first week. 2 touchdowns in the red zone against Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. He's a matchup nightmare. Again, injuries, though, have derailed him. Because if he could stay healthy, he's one of the best tight ends in the league. He can still run block really well. I think he goes to New England. It's a great fit there for him.
I really like that fit.
So that's where I've got him. He could be so much higher if he could stay healthy.
At 15, I went with Joe Schobert, for the linebacker from the Cleveland Browns. He makes every play for this defense besides Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
He's a really good linebacker. He's not very many people know about him, but he's a really good player.
He was the best player on that defense that was so bad for years. That's why his tackles were inflated a little bit.
Right.
Solid.
He could make plays. He could fit in anywhere.
Yeah, I agree with
you.
Who you got, Reeves?
I think we're on to 16 now.
Did you do your 15?
Yeah, it was Eric Armstead.
Oh, okay. Go for your 16.
Well, 16, I got Hunter Henry. I was piggyback off Klein. He's one of the top tight ends in the league if he can stay healthy.
Urban, go.
I got Jamie Collins, outside linebacker, defensive end, rusher for the Patriots. He's a really good linebacker. He gets after the passer really well. He plays the run well. He's a solid player. He'll be good anywhere.
Yeah, I think he goes back to New England.
Just not in the Browns.
He's shown that New England's the best fit for him.
Right.
I mean, he had a bounce back here because I went at 16. I went with Conklin. He's probably the best offensive lineman on this market. Not great, but he's a good right tackle. Solid in the run game. Still needs work against the pass rush. What I really liked about him when he first came out of Michigan State in the first round was that he only had 3 penalties in his first 3 years. Well, he had 6 last year. He's not nearly as bad as Taylor Lewan, who is just a holding nightmare machine for them. But I just don't think...
was the first-round pick, too, right?
Yeah.
Michigan.
I just don't think they can afford to bring him back just because they're going to have to focus everything on Tannehill and Brown. But he's going to be able to get some decent money. He's well-deserving of it, but he can be your star for the next 4 or 5 years, at least on the right side.
At 17, I got Brian Bulaga, the Packers tackle. He's older. He's gonna. This is his last contract for sure, but Green Bay's gonna be looking to bring him back on the cheap. But we'll see if anybody wants to pay him for a couple of years. He's kind of like a Whitworth that went to the Rams a couple of years ago from the Bengals. He's just a really solid offensive lineman.
Yeah,
he can plug in anywhere. Give your lineman room. Have a very good veteran to learn from and get some good practice habits off of.
I agree. I really like that one right there.
Yeah.
Who got at 17?
I got Chris Jones at 17. He goes back to the Chiefs.
How the hell do you have him all the way down there?
I'm just not a big fan of Chris Jones either.
Why? What I like about Chris Jones? What?
Reeves didn't have him on the list originally, guarantee it, and so I had to throw him up there and was like, oh, you know what? The best defensive player on this market, let's just throw him there.
The best player on the...
I don't think he's the best player or best defensive player on the market.
Then who is?
The best defensive player on the market? Probably... I'm going to go with Justin Simmons.
All right. Move on. Who you got, Nick?
Chris Jones has been a goddamn game changer the last 2 years, but yeah, whatever. I went with Brandon Sharif, who is the best guard on the market. We've already talked about him. Just move on. Go with your pick.
All right. At 18, I went with Corey Littleton. We touched on him a lot earlier, so I'm not going to get too far into it. He's just an all-around good linebacker. You got Reeves at 18.
Shaq Barrett.
Okay. 19, Reeves, go, because
Teddy Bridgewater.
Jesus Christ. Urban, go.
Yannick Njoku.
All right. I went with DJ Reader, 343-pound D-tackle that can shed blocks like crazy. Yes, he's stout against the run game. He's playing for Houston the last few years, but he is so good at getting to the ball too, or getting to the pass rush. And that I know that 340, 350-pound nose tackles aren't really coveted like they were even 5-6 years ago, but he is.
You can get a big one in the middle that can get all blocks. If you got
a good 3-4 scheme, he is a perfect fit up front for you. And they're not going to be able to re-sign him because they've got so many other needs on. I think they're going to have to let Reeder walk. I mean, he's been great though.
I had Bridgewater at 19.
Okay, on 20, I got Hunter Henry. We already touched on him, so I'm not going to bore you at home.
Yeah, I like that.
At 20, I got his quarterback, Phillip Rivers.
Okay.
I went with Robbie Anderson. Inconsistent as hell. Will disappear for weeks at a time. He's had some big games and's got ridiculous elite speed. 11th in the league since 2016 and catches 20 yards plus down the field with 1,300.
My thing with him is his inconsistency because of him or because of quarterback play?
It could be a little of both. Maybe he needs to be in the right locker room, shown how to be an actual pro. Because he's never had a good structure. Because for the love of God, he's been
runs his own routes. He's not good enough to run his own routes.
A player runs his own routes. No shit.
If he's going to be good enough, he needs to run the routes where the quarterback can give it to him the ball, not decide to run a fade, and he's supposed to run a post, especially with a young quarterback in Darnold.
All right. Well, you want to move on to the questions of the week, Nick?
Yeah, I'm going to need anger management. Yeah, let's do the six-pack questions of the week. But no, I can't. He doesn't just run his own routes.
That's why he got benched the last...
a couple times, yeah, probably because the Adam Gase was calling plays, which isn't the best thing in the world.
I agree with you on
but
that
he
one.
has been there, and yes, he runs his own routes, and you're going to have break-offs because, pass protection breaks down sometimes, and Darnold has to move because, he was seeing ghosts. We won't even get into that. But he's going to make adjustments on the fly. You have these game plans. Game plans are when coaches meet together with the players and have certain things. If you see these lineups, you're supposed to be able to run these hot routes.
With the offensive line that he has, he can't be running his own routes when he's supposed to run the route, and Darnold's looking to go to him.
But what if it's an option route, and he's
not the only option for Darnold,
and he's
reading the coverage.
As right now, he's pretty much the only option for Darnold.
I'm just saying that.
He's still got that elite speed.
Yeah,
he's
I like
there.
Robbie Anderson.
He disappears too much for weeks at a time for me.
Yeah,
but he can still be a great number 2 or 3 threat on a team that wants to make an impact.
Probably Oakland would be his best fit.
I mean, that wouldn't be bad, depending on how much he wants, but he shouldn't go back to New York.
How much would you pay him, though? He wants like 15 or 16.
7 to 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, at most. I mean, I'd pay him more than I would Bashar Perriman because Perriman had a better bounce back year, but Anderson's still got the potential. We know what Perriman's going to be your number 3 or 4 receiver. He's going to be damn good, but Anderson, I still think there's another level you can unlock. I wouldn't mind seeing him go to Green Bay. They don't have a problem going into free agency either. They need someone to take off the top because they work Devontae Adams so much over the middle. It's just he's got to get out of New York because you have fans that realize, and I hate you so much. Can we go to the six-pack questions of the week?
Let's get that six-pack of the week up.
Right on. Thank you, God. This is the six-pack of the week.
All right, with the first question, who are the only 2 teams to win Super Bowls in 3 different decades?
Packers.
Yep.
We'll go with the Raiders.
Giants.
80s, 2000, 2010s, yeah. Okay.
All right. How many Heisman Trophy winners have also won the Super Bowl MVP?
1.
4.
4?
Desmond Howard, Jim Plunkett, Marcus Allen, Roger Staubach.
Okay.
Who is the only player who is enshrined in the NFL Hall of Fame and the CFL Hall of Fame?
Warren Moon.
Boom, baby. What state has produced the most NFL Hall of Fame members with 30 overall? Just recently set this.
That's cool. I mean, that doesn't really help me out. I don't memorize players, what state they
come
from.
It's trivia.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Texas.
Yep, you got it. They just recently surpassed
California?
Pennsylvania with 27. Third's Ohio with 22. So if it wouldn't have been the last couple of years, you probably wouldn't have got that one, but you got it. So what running back has the most rushing touchdowns in his 30s?
Joe Riggins?
John Riggins. But
John Riggins, my bad.
Yeah, old Redskins.
Yeah.
Ran behind the Hogs.
Yeah.
God love him. Who has the most receiving touchdowns over 70 yards?
What the
Yeah.
Receiving touchdowns
heavy hitters.
over 70 yards.
Yeah.
Man.
If you get this one, I'll fucking chug a beer out of your shoe.
That's disgusting.
I'll do a shoey.
Let me Google it.
I'll do a shoey.
Text it to you, dude.
No, I'm not.
I
I don't want to see that, but then again, I do.
John Stallworth?
Nope, dude, you about fucking said it. Oh my God, it's Lance Allworth.
I was
from the Chargers back in the day, early football days. A lot of you people.
I was going with.
Holy shit, that was close! Oh my God.
I need to do 6-pack questions on you one week, and
That's
I'm just
fine. And I'll get all fucking 6 wrong.
Fuck your world up.
You're the Schwab or whatever.
Right on. I mean, that's been it for this week, though.
Yeah, we'll come back next week. We'll probably have a division to recap.
Yeah, we're gonna do the NFC and AFC West. We'll send out the question and the combine recap. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, the Heavyweights Pod. The link will be below, and so will our Facebook. You can now listen to us also on iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else where you listen to your podcasts.
All your favorite platforms.
All your platforms now. Again, thanks to Anchor for being our first sponsor. But we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you all again next week.
Yep, show your mom. Also, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my nieces, Cadence, Sierra, and Harper. Love you guys. Hope you guys enjoy this week's show.